When you first launch Adobe XD, you will be greeted by this welcome screen. So you can check out this tutorial. You have all these different sizes you can start with. So these are basically artboards where you can start a new design. You could always change this later, but I want to point out that right down here, you have these little flyout menus. You can pick different sizes as well as making a custom size. But what I'm going to go with is with the Web 1920. So clicking on that, it will launch XD, showing me this file. And it will also show you this toolbar on the left side, and on the right side, this is your properties panel. So I will select this artboard and I'm going to change the name. I'm just going to call it home, just like that. I'm just going to design just a simple graphic for a home page about a photo location service is what it is. But you can see with this artboard selected, my properties panel changes over here, right? So I can adjust the size. That's pretty straightforward, but you can also change it just by grabbing any one of the corners just like that. Undo is going to work the same way it does in other apps, just selecting undo, but this is all pretty straightforward. If I want to change the appearance, like the color, I'm going to dive into that. Maybe pick a nice blue, something like that, and that's what I want to go with. All right, when it comes to designing or creating content, you're going to use this toolbar typically off to the side. I could use the rectangle tool. This looks very simple, by the way. It's very powerful. So I'm just going to create a camera icon. So you notice as I move my cursor around, I get these guide markers. This is fantastic because I want to draw from the center, right? So I can click and drag, or I can hold down the Option key or Alt key. And before I let up on my mouse, I can draw from the center to make a nice camera icon, something like that, okay? Now, we're used to other products, specifically Adobe products. You can do a Command plus to zoom in and minus to zoom out. And I can also do that right up here from this View menu. But what I love is the Zoom to selection. You'll find yourself using this a lot. I use this. Boom, here we are. We can see this rectangle that I've drawn, okay? I want to modify it now. I can use the selection tool. Using that selection tool, I get these little control points because I can actually adjust the curve of those corners to make it nice and soft like that. So that's what I want to do. I actually want to make a little flash up on the top, and I'll just draw out another rectangle like this. Notice how you'll get guides as you start to draw out. It will snap to that other object like that. But now what I want to do is I want to use my selection tool and just curve out these two top corners. So that's what I can do. I can hold down the Alt key. By holding down the Alt key, I can just grab one corner and bring that in. And you're probably wondering, what size is that? How much did you curve that? Well, right over here in the Properties panel, right down here under Appearance, it says, hey, you know what? It's curving with a radius of 10, the top right corner. So if I want to make the top left 10 as well, I can just type that in because any of these fields with numbers in them can be edited with your keyboard. So that looks pretty good. So far, so good. I'm going to use you guessed it, ellipse tool right over here, and I can draw out from the center here. I can draw, holding down the Alt key, not an oval, but a sphere. So I can hold down the Shift key. So those same shortcuts work for Illustrator, Photoshop, and Adobe XD. So I can make a circle like that. That looks pretty good. And maybe I want to change the fill color to something else. So that's kind of like the outside circle. I'm going to make a little inside circle. Still, I get those guides, and I'll draw this out, holding down the Option key and the Shift key, and making the inside kind of like that. Okay, so that's how you would typically work. Keep in mind, any one of these shapes are editable, right? I can select all of these, for instance, and adjust the border size, as we see right over here. And rather than entering in a number, I'm actually going to use my arrow key and increase that or decrease that size any way I want. I'm going to make that just a touch thicker, something like that. Now I'm going to finish up this graphic, but I want to show you kind of what's happening sort of like under the hood, if you will. Because right over here, right down in the lower left, this is your Layers panel. Opening that up, I can see all of my items that made up this particular icon or shape. So Command minus, kind of zoom out, because what I want to do at the end of the day is select all of these graphics here and group them together to make them one shape. So right click, group. We can see it's grouped right over here in this neat little folder. I can always open that up and see those graphics that are named appropriately. And if I want to, I can actually name this camera just like that. So congratulations, if you were following along with me, you just made your first graphic in Adobe XD. And from here, you'll see me modify these graphics and make so many more graphics in Adobe XD as well.